The law of God never intends to oppress or burden the people of God, but it's always out of God's love for the people. May the peace and joy of Christ be with you today. Most often, the conflicts between Jesus and the Pharisees are based on the Sabbath law, between love and law, between mercy and punishment. We also have such an incident in today's gospel, but there is a difference. Most often, the conflict breaks out because of an act by Jesus on the Sabbath. And Jesus' act would be mostly a miracle of healing or casting out demon or raising up a dead. And basically liberating a child of God who had been suffering due to a fatal illness or because of the evil possession. And the Pharisees would find fault with Jesus and enter into an argument with Jesus and also chase away the people who came to Jesus for healing. But in today's gospel, we see something different. Today's conflict between Jesus and the Pharisees are not based on an act by Jesus, but based on an act by the disciples of Jesus. But that act of the disciples of Jesus did not disturb Jesus, who is the Lord of the Sabbath, who is the lawgiver, because Jesus understood their act. They were hungry. Hunger is a basic feeling of every person, and food is a fundamental basic need for every person. And that's why we see Jesus making himself food for others. But this act of the disciples of Jesus did disturb the Pharisees, and they enter into conflict. But then Jesus comes into their defense. And Jesus confronts them with two arguments, one taken from the prophet Hosea and the other by himself. Jesus says, "It is mercy that I desire and not sacrifice." And Jesus says, "The Son of Man is the Lord of Sabbath." The Pharisees, who considered themselves to be the keepers of the law, most often used the law to oppress and suppress the common people of God. That way, they felt superior to others. The law of God never intends to oppress or burden the people of God, but it's always out of God's love for the people. So therefore, the law is meant for the good of the people. And the spirit of the law of God is always love. And the Pharisees often failed to understand this spirit of the law. And that's why most often there's conflict between Jesus and the Pharisees. Yesterday's gospel, which is said to be one of the most comforting and consoling gospel passages, we saw Jesus inviting those overburdened and wearied that he will give them consolation and comfort and rest. The common people, the ordinary people, the innocent and the simple people were overburdened and wearied by enforcement of the law by the Pharisees. There is a legalistic, strict Pharisee within us. Sometimes we also oppress and overburden the common, simple, ordinary people with the laws and norms and regulations. Our life will become more beautiful and meaningful if we become more merciful, kind, and compassionate. And we could also make the life of those who depend on us, those who live with us, those who are around us, even more beautiful. Jesus says, "It is mercy that I desire, not sacrifice." May the love of Christ redeem us. Amen.